The last time we saw the Seattle Seahawks, they were hoisting the Lombardi Trophy and winning the Super Bowl in what was a remarkable season for Seattle, a team that came into the campaign lined as a 500-level squad and ended up being the best team out of 32 in the NFL. Can they do it again in 2026? Let's talk about it. Teddy covers WagerTalk.com with a Seattle Seahawks 2026 NFL preview. And of course, if you're watching my videos, you already know I'm not a guy that's going to bet Super Bowl futures. I'm not a guy that's going to bet odds to win the conference futures. Why? They're bad bets long term. It's really hard to make money making bad bets long term. What we're going to try to do is focus on winnable bets for Seattle. Over under 10.5 wins for the Seahawks. Can they win the division? In the plus 200 range. They're the second choice in the NFC West behind the LA Rams, who are the current Super Bowl favorites. The Rams obviously in win now mode, and obviously San Francisco in the NFC West, another legitimate contender. Arizona, not so much. When we talk about Seattle, the number one thing that stands out to me from last year was how outstanding their locker room really was. This was a team that genuinely liked each other, and those quotes were coming out in preseason where the team talked about the unique locker room chemistry they had. Obviously, it mattered a lot. And we're going to give former Ravens defense coordinator and current Seahawks head coach Mike Macdonald a lot of credit for that. Macdonald, I should say, 24-10 in 2 years on the job. But that's not really telling the truth, because the first 9 games in his tenure in Seattle, the Seahawks 4-5. Since that 4-5 start, 19-5 in the regular season. So Macdonald certainly, as the defending Super Bowl champ coach, is a guy who's earned a lot of respect around the league over what he's done since that initial mediocrity with the Seahawks. Offense coordinator Brian Fleury, he was the 49ers run game coordinator and tight end coach last year. They did make a change in offense coordinator because their previous OC is now the head coach here in Las Vegas for the Raiders. Defense coordinator Aiden Durday. The only losses on offense, Kubiak and the running back, Kenneth Walker. And again, if you watch my videos, you know that running backs, of all the positions in the NFL, running back the most replaceable. That's why teams routinely don't spend on running backs. Kenneth Walker was a great back, and he deserved the accolades he got last year. But if you're going to say one player on offense to lose, okay, let Ken Walker go. You know, for as good as he was, he's replaceable in this offense. Kubiak may not be, and that's the interesting factor. Kubiak was brilliant in his play calling a year ago. That is a legit loss. But other than those 2 losses, they got 10 starters back on offense. They got 10 starters back on defense. You know, this is not a team that lost a lot. When again, most Super Bowl champs, they tend to get players get picked off, and free agency is a problem. Seattle, not so much, because they haven't been good. They weren't good in the previous years. They had to pay a bunch of guys. So the Seahawks are in good shape in terms of 10 back on offense, 10 back on defense, not dealing with a lot of... In fact, all but 5 players who took a Super Bowl snap for Seattle returned. So a lot of continuity for the Seahawks, even with the change at coordinator. From a defensive standpoint, this is a really interesting team. They were number 25 in points allowed in Pete Carroll's last year in 2023. Last year, 2 years later, number 1 in points allowed. So from a defensive standpoint, this team has shown remarkable improvement. And for all the accolades that Sam Darnold got last year, the reason Seattle won the Super Bowl is because their defense was good enough, every bit as much as their offense was good enough. So the first question with Seattle that we have to ask is Sam Darnold was last. And I'm not going to say last year was a flash in the pan, because he had a good season in Minnesota prior to that. And he was in San Francisco under Shanahan before that. Darnold has had a chance to revitalize his career, and he's done it. He's no longer a second-tier quarterback. Now he's a Super Bowl winner, and he's a guy who we have to expect to have success until proven otherwise. Now, is he the elitist of the league? You know what I'm saying. But, again, Sam Darnold last year, the numbers really weren't that good for Sam Darnold a year ago. In fact, he had number 19 in QBR out of 28 qualified quarterbacks. That had a lot to do with the interception that he was throwing midseason. In the playoffs, he didn't throw any interceptions. In fact, the last 10 games of the year, he only threw 4. In the playoffs, he threw 0 in the 3 playoff wins for the Seahawks. But Darnold, earlier in the season, was having interception issues, particularly against the better defense he faced. Remember that first game against the Rams? Didn't happen a lot, but there were a couple games where Sam Darnold cost them, and that ended up making his final season number. Again, was he really the 19th quarterback out of 28 last year? No, he was better than that. But that's what the stats say. So when we look at Sam Darnold, can he repeat? I think he can. I think he can do better than that this year. He's a guy with a heck of a lot of confidence right now. And of course, they said, we talk about the loss of Kenneth Walker. Jadarian Price, well, he'll help. The first round draft choice. And Darnold was top 5 in yards and completion percentage, a veteran QB. I'm going to say yes, we're going to trust Sam Darnold at this stage and not go, but 7 years ago he wasn't any good. He got his opportunity. He got his opportunity again. And the second time around, he's capitalized on it. So this is a team, and you have Cooper Kupp, you have Rashid Shaheed, on a $17 million deal. Jackson Smith-Njigba, obviously, had 119 receptions and nearly 1,800 passing yards. He signed a big contract. Torrey Horton, who got hurt last year, the kid out of Colorado State, who had enormous upside and made a bunch of big plays for them early and then got hurt. He's back. Darnold's got weapons, and the offensive line is good. Offensive line coach John Benton, he's elite. And certainly that was a strong unit last year. Tackle, Charles Cross signed an extension. Abe Lucas signed an extension. So both their tackles now signed long-term. The guard, Greg Zabel was elite as a rookie last year. He's only going to get better. There's a lot to like about Seattle on the offensive side of the football. I think this team will likely to be pretty good again offensively in 2026. Before I talk about the defense of the Seahawks, some of the stats that stand out to me from last year, I make my prediction about what Seattle's going to do this year. I do want to let you know what's going on right now at wagertalk.com. It is now my 26th season. Yeah, this hair used to be dark. It's not anymore. That's what 26 years in Vegas will do for you. But my 26th season releasing NFL win reports. All right. The long-term results are impressive. They are. 105 and 56, 65% over the last 25 years. The 5% big tickets, 17 and 5, 77% over the last 25 years. Last year was a losing season. Very disappointing with the win report total. Win totals. I've never had back-to-back losing seasons. I'm pissed off about last year. I'm hungry, and I've been focused all summer. Check out my season win package. $1.99. If you want to get on board, visit the website, wagertalk.com. Visit my homepage, www.buzz/TC. But honestly, don't buy the win report. Right now, win report's $1.99. My full season is $5.99. That's every play from week 1 of the preseason through the Super Bowl. There's nothing more to buy. There is no bait and switch. You get every 5% big ticket included, and you'll be getting plays every week from a guy who's been in Vegas for 26 years and is still standing in this town, betting NFL. So I encourage you, take advantage of the full season offer. And oh, by the way, right now, promo code Teddy50 at checkout is going to get you $50 off. So you get my season win report, and you get every play from the first week of the preseason through the Super Bowl, including the props and everything else, all 5%. And you take $50 off, get it all for $5.49. Nothing more to buy, no nonsense. Promo code Teddy50 at checkout will get you that $50 off. Check it out. Win report, July 31st. It's the release date, which is, oh, by the way, in 2 days. So check it out. I encourage you. And of course, the beauty of the win report doesn't go anywhere. So you can get it on release date. If you're watching this video in August, get on board. Check it out. WT.buzz/TC. Let's talk about this Seattle Seahawks on the defensive side of the football. I worry about the defense getting old a little bit, certainly on the defensive line. Will look old. Obviously, DeMarcus Lawrence is 34, Leonard Williams is 32, Jaron Reed is 32, Dante Fowler, the free agent, is a 10-year vet. It's a deep defensive line. Byron Murphy, another great player, a deep unit, but I do worry about that unit starting to age a little bit. But the one thing the Seahawks did very well last year was rotate defensive linemen in and out. They can withstand injuries more than most teams in that regard. This was the best special teams in the NFL. Forget about special teams. In the secondary, Devin Witherspoon was elite a year ago. He's back. Nick Emanuele, too. there's certainly a lot to like about the Seahawks on the defensive side of football again this year. And, of course, this is the NFL's best special teams units last year. And that can only go down, when you're talking about the special teams from one season to the next. It's not like those ratings stay, they bounce up and down a fair bit. So we do expect some regression from Seattle special teams-wise. I do expect some modest regression from Seattle on the defensive side of the football. I worry about the hard knocks, too. I mean, if you're the defending champs, why do you need hard knocks? It's just a distraction for a team that doesn't need any distraction. Love what they did in the draft, in the number 2 pick, Bud Clark from TCU, number 3, Julian Neal out of Arkansas. They're going to help the secondary for Seattle probably right away. There's some stats that are going to go down this year. Seattle last year, number 2 in the NFL in yards per pass attempt. That's likely to decline at least a little bit. They made a lot of big plays in the passing game a year ago. They were number 1 in yards per carry allowed on rushing defense. 9, tied for number 2 in yards per pass attempt allowed, their pass defense. They faced the 4th easiest schedule last year. This year, their schedule significantly tougher than it was a year ago. And that's you talk about concerns about Seattle. That's probably my biggest one, is a schedule upgrade from where it was a year ago to where it is this year. That being said, this is still a pretty good team. This is still a really good team, in my opinion, even though the Rams are getting the hype. The Seahawks are the team to beat in the NFC West. If I'm going to play one future on Seattle, it'd be Seattle to win the division at a 2-to-1 price you can find better if you shop around. I think they're live. And the Rams, who are the favorites right now in this division, they're thin in a lot of areas. Lots of star power for LA, but a key injury or two could send that team in the wrong direction, whereas I think Seattle has better depth. So Seattle to win the division is what I would recommend on this video. And thank you so much for watching. We appreciate the likes, the comments, the follows. Stay tuned because I got a bunch more NFL previews coming up today, tomorrow, all week long. Check it out on Wager Talk TV, and thank you for your support. Have a great day. Cheers.